Well, hey now, everybody. How you doing? Dave Fennoy here. The second Wednesday in 2023, and actually, I cannot believe it's the 11th already. It seems like this year is already flying by. Anyway, here we are, another Ask Dave Fennoy Anything, and a reminder that all of these Ask Dave Fennoy Anythings live on my YouTube channel, Dave Fennoy Voiceover Training. And if you're somebody interested in private coaching with me, davefennoy.com. Well, let's talk to my guest here. I want to remind Erin Fitzgerald coming on. And along with me and Randall Ryan and Gillian Brashear and Mark Esdale, we will be your instructors at Game VO Mexico 2023. And let's see. Oh, yeah, let's get that up. Oh, there it is. Game Mexico 2023, right down there at the bottom. And it's coming up in April, the end of 27th through the 30th of April. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, there she is.
Canned clapter. That's my favorite. Perfect.
Well, I don't really have an audience in studio, so we make it up.
That's fun. Thank you.
So how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for asking. Happy New Year.
Oh, Happy New Year. 2023 is upon us. And say hello, everybody. There's Erin Fitzgerald.
Hi.
Now, Erin, we have been acquainted for a long time.
Yeah.
I remember it was years ago. You and the fellow you were dating at the time, I
Mel.
think what's that?
Mel. His
Mel.
name was Mel.
Mel.
Oh, is Mel. He's still alive.
Yeah, okay. His name was Mel. I killed him.
We're just not together anymore, but yeah.
But you and Mel and I and several other of our voiceover compadres were at in San Diego at Comic-Con.
Yes.
And we left the convention and we were over at some little hole in the wall someplace bar that somebody had set up for us to have an interview. And we did. I think that's when I first met you. And every now and then our paths cross, but this is so normal in this business now.
Yeah.
Since we're not in studios most of the time now, it's at a convention. It's at somebody's birthday party or something.
It's true.
But it's good to see you. Good to have you on. And
Thank you.
The other thing that I find about doing Ask Dave Fennoy Anything, which sometimes in my private moments I keep going, why do I call it Ask Dave Fennoy Anything when I have so many?
Yeah, I'm always curious too. I'm like,
I have so many other people.
How far does it go?
Well, time out unless it's voiceover. We're just talking voiceover.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
anything about voiceover. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Anything about voiceover. But the one question everybody used to ask, and this may be lost on other people, briefs. But I bring so many wonderful people on, so many talented people who have so much information. So I guess I'm going to keep calling it Ask Dave Fennoy Anything, but I'm glad to have folks like yourself on to talk to. So, got to get your origin story as a voiceover superhero. Were you bitten by a spider? Did you come from another planet?
All of it.
Were you a billionaire who got a lot of tech? How did you become a voiceover person?
Well, I'm never I have the philosophy of I don't believe in voiceover. I believe in acting, and I'm from a school of I'm a character actor. I've always been a character actor since I was a kid, and as an actor, you're either in front of a camera, on stage, or behind the mic. That's it. Look, I don't think we can choose. At least I can't be that choosy where I'm going to get work and get paid. So I'm happy to take any acting work, no matter where it is, on camera, on stage, behind the mic, because acting is acting is acting. Now, I went to, I acted all throughout school in Canada. I'm from Canada, so I'm a Navy brat. So I lived everywhere in Canada.
Whoa. So that's the Canadian Navy? Wait,
Yes, sir.
does Canada have a navy? No, I'm kidding, 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 kidding.
What did my dad call it?
The truth
They're
is
like
out now.
they're water police.
The water
But
police.
my dad was a commander on a destroyer. It was pretty impressive. I was bragging rights when I was a kid. Um, but we moved from city to city to city, and so I was always changing schools every year, every 2 years. So I got really good at like, testing out different personalities, different behaviors, like who did I want to be, kind of a thing. So it lent itself really easily to becoming characters all the time. And my father was actually really good at characters. And here's a weird thing. When my parents would have parties with all these naval officers and their wives, they used to do skits around the living room. They would do skits, and my father was phenomenal at recreating impressions and voices of like anything Peter Sellers did, anything along those lines. So I learned from my father, kind of characters came through him weirdly at the beginning of my life. And then I started taking theater and drama because that obviously was just natural. I mean, I was acting for the 90-year-old lady next door, acting out the Sunday night movies on Disney for her, playing every character at 3 years old. So it kind of like
So
already
you came by this naturally.
yeah, I borned into it.
Yeah.
So, when I went to university, I took, theater. I got a degree in theater, acting specialization, a Bachelor of Fine Arts, which my mom calls a Bachelor of F all, which she's not technically wrong. Um, and then uh, and then I started working in theater and television and film in Vancouver was where I got my professional. Well, actually, that's not true because I was working as a historical interpreter in Victoria.
What does a
um,
historical
a
interpreter?
historical interpreter is when you work in one of those historical houses, but you're dressed up in costume and you're pretending you're from that period. So you have your own character. So you're paid to act. So actors would get paid. And I did that before I started university, and they
So
paid really
so
well.
that's a little bit like Chautauqua acting.
I
Um,
don't know what Chautauqua
well, the
acting is. So
Chautauqua
I'm going to
method
say
is it's
maybe.
usually for a one person show, and the actor comes out and does their one person show as a particular historical character, and
We
then
could do that, but we would make like a lot of the time we're taking someone on a tour through a house, and
yeah,
we would just take the
yeah.
person through the house as if we were,
But they're asking,
somebody who
you're
worked in the
telling
house.
things, and they're probably asking you questions.
Yeah, exactly,
And in the
exactly. Now, on
Chautauqua,
occasion, like it's on occasion we would get to be the actual historical
and
characters,
we
like
speak for a living.
look at I talk for a living. So, like at Christmas time, we would be we would each get cast as one of the original family members of the houses. It was great acting, and there were accents, and I really, really loved it because I love accents and
Now,
stuff. So
I
it was a
was gonna
great start.
that Chautauqua thing though. They do the performance, and then the audience gets to ask them questions, and they answer
Oh,
as the character, and then they're asked questions as the actor talking about the character.
got you. No, we never did it that.
Okay.
No, it was more just in yeah, it was more you were either a tour guide in period or you were performing like audience separate from the characters, like a sketch.
Hmm.
Hi everybody. So it was really it was great. It was fun, and I got paid a lot of money per hour to do it, and I loved it. And then when I went to Vancouver and I started working professionally, I was in my 20s, so I hated that I was limited by how I look cuz in the 90s the roles for females were so boring and so written by men and very one-dimensional, and it was either you were the hot chick or you were the friend, or in my case, the drug addict or sex worker, because those were the interesting roles were the drug addicts and sex workers. So I was like, I'm going for those because they are at least a little bit more meaty. So that's kind of where I was, and it was very limiting considering I knew I was a character actor, and it was one of my roommates. I was living with a number of actors in a house in Vancouver, and one of my roommates said, "Hey, do you want to come and do looping? They need female actors who can do accents and characters." And I'm like, "Ah, I can do that." So I started looping, and it was on my first looping job where first of all, I'm like, I was built for this because I could do any character I wanted. Like I was a monster. One of my first gigs, I was already being a monster. I
Was
was
it was this on a television show, a
Yeah,
movie?
it was on Outer Limits from the 90s. I
Ah,
was working looping for Outer Limits, and it was on that job that Mike Dobson said, "Why aren't you doing cartoons?" And it never even occurred to me that cartoons were an acting job because in my imagination, cartoons were real, right? Like my Gen X butt, nobody talked about cartoon actors. Nobody even knew who they were. So Papa Smurf was Papa Smurf and He-Man was He-Man. And so in that moment was a real Santa Claus moment for me when I just looked at him with blank face and was like, what do you mean?" And he's like, "You know how so and so is so and so." And I went, "Oh, no!" And thought, "Oh, wait a second. Maybe you're onto something." And so from there, I actually received my first demo in contemplation. I was
when you say received your first demo.
Yeah, I mean, like, I was sitting in my room singing Hugh, which is a word that I sing in contemplation, just Hugh, and it was shown to me exactly what my demo should be, all the characters that I had already created up to that point, and which order the characters should be and what they would say. So I came out of contemplation, wrote it all down, made it, having never heard anyone else's demo because, of course, there was no internet, and so I wouldn't know what a demo sounded like, but I got it all from this meditation and I created it with the help of Brian Dobson, Mike's brother. And then I got an agent for voiceovers specifically because I only had an on-camera agent up until then. And it was, and then I got my very first job, which was a cartoon called Ed, Ed and Eddie, made by a Canadian animation company, cast all Canadians, but it was on a brand new channel called Cartoon Network.
Ah,
So
so
and it
what
only
years were
aired in
this?
America. In
What
Canada,
years?
we didn't get it. I'm sorry, wait,
What
what was
years were these?
uh, between 96 and 99 is
Okay.
when I got my professional career going acting. And then what 98, 99 is when I started booking cartoons. A video game still didn't have really,
Oh, believe
actors
me,
with
yeah,
them.
yeah,
And I remember my first video game was Kessen 2 in '99, I think.
yeah.
And then I met a boy, fell in love, and he moved to LA and I followed him, and that's how I ended up here.
And where is he now?
No idea.
No idea. It's just, oh,
That didn't work
we're
out.
married and we have 3 kids. No, no.
We were married, we were divorced, but, I feel his destiny was to get me here because I never would have come here.
That
My
that was his.
Canadian
That is why
Yeah.
God put him on this earth
Yeah.
to get you,
Yes,
Erin
sir.
Fitzgerald, to L.A.
Too-la-la.
Yeah, there
Yes,
you go.
because I wouldn't have come. It was too intimidating. It was so intimidating. I remember when I decided to come and I had to leave my jobs in Canada because in Canada they kept saying, "You can't still work this job and live in LA," which didn't make sense to me, but they said that. And one of the directors said, if you go to LA, you're never going to work. The only reason you work here is because you're cheap." That's what I was told to my
Wow.
face.
You know, it's
So,
interesting. I was told the same thing when I came to LA by people in the Bay Area where I was coming from. And a lot by people who had
really?
come to LA and it didn't work for them. So, of course, it wasn't
Yeah.
going to work for me. And you got to be careful of those people. They will steal
Yep.
your dreams. And sometimes it's the people who love you the most because they don't know and they are afraid for you. Well, you know,
Well,
since
kind
you're
of, yeah.
I notice you're waving at some people, so let me go through
Yeah, I
here
am.
and pull up. Let's see. Hey, Elena Moutin says, "Hey, Aaron," and
Hi.
you got Storm Waters. A regular Terry Briscoe saying hello, and oh, you're back on the underwear there, Richelieu. Uh, Storm Waters liked your comment, Water Police. And Richelieu, LO beat me to it, Storm. Great character exercise. I think he's talking about the Chautauqua method there.
Yeah.
Donna Bell, hey, how are you? Hi, Dave and Aaron. Paul Adamson, great show. Gee, and we're just getting started. The reviews are in. Uh,
Hey,
well, let's get back to you now,
hi,
and
Jeff.
so
Yeah,
you get
so
to. So you, I want to know about that first demo you did that you conceived, never listened to another demo
Yeah.
before you did it.
There was no
Um,
interwebs.
when's the last time you listened to it, and what did the agent say when they first heard it?
Um, it's on cassette, so I haven't listened to it since I got rid of my cassette player. I still have it, one copy. I remember it very well in my head because it was, it was given to me so specifically. It booked me so much work.
Mm,
It booked me I booked jobs just off of the demo itself. Um, and when I remade and honestly, of course, no demo after comes close to that demo for me, like, my heart in that demo, because it felt like a spiritual revelation, right? Like, how do you top a spiritual
God sends me
revelation?
that demo.
Right, right, but luckily for me, my work begets me more work now. Oops.
Yeah.
So it went from nothing and this amazing demo that would book me work, and then when I started updating demos, which I don't do very often, I just gather the work that I've done and then show off that work and let that work speak for itself. So I'm a big advocate of showing off my characters, period. I just, my job is to create characters and put them out there, and it's my characters that audition for jobs, not me. So if my characters don't book, I just let them know that just wasn't the one for you, honey. Don't worry, we'll find a home. And then I don't take anything personally, and it works out really well.
I kind of like that attitude, and I think one of the things that holds a lot of us back is when we're not allowing the characters, the voices in our head, our little madness, to just come out and do its own thing and take over, as opposed to we're
Exactly.
trying to, I want to hit this and that word and this word and that.
I don't do that.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't do that. I don't let myself. I also, I don't listen to myself when I'm recording a character because there's the actor brain, which is attached to ego, and then there's the character. So for me, if the character isn't driving the car, then I call BS on my performance because then I'm too busy, and I can hear it in my performance when I'm directing myself in my performance while I'm performing. And I am come from theater. I like live action reaction kind of I like improv. I like handing the keys over to the character and letting the character decide for themselves how they feel in any given moment, in any given take, without trying to direct them. Because here's what I've discovered working with so many directors and on so many gigs is that what I think is the right take is never the take they take. They take the one that is free and experimental and bizarre. And I went, oh, maybe I need to get my head out of the way and just let my characters be who they are and feel what they feel and let the directors do their job. So I really have been working on kind of like um, mastering that particular area of the craft because it frees my heart up back to the joy of the craft and my love for it, and it takes the business side out of it for me. I find that when I'm so busy, here's the thing, Dave, if my mind actually knew what they wanted, then shouldn't I book 100% of the time?
Well, that's interesting because that takes us to the audition process and that thing of, well, what do they want? And they've given you some ideas, and usually it's done by committee. So sometimes it's A and Z, it's hot and cold.
Yeah.
Um, and I always find, oh, I'll read what it is they're asking for, and then I'll go to the script and I'll see what's there and give it what I think it needs or what I feel.
Yeah.
I've never said, well, I'm going to let the character do this, but I really understand it. I like that. Let me ask you this, because you teach as well, which is one
I
of the
do.
reasons that you are going to be one of the instructors at Gameville, Mexico 2023, happening April 27th through the 30th. Um, and I know you're a great teacher, but I've
Well,
never.
I'm not a teacher. I'm more of a coach. Like I
Well,
feel like
that's what
there's
I
a
mean.
teacher
That's what I
and
mean.
wisdom. I'm more of a
Teacher,
peer.
coach. So
Thank you.
you've got a student. What are the things you share with the student to help them get out of their way and let the characters come out?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I work mostly with the Alexander technique. So the exercises are very acting 101 exercises that we do. But what I find, like our generation, like we were so lucky to have so much process as children. We had so much time to ourselves to just explore, play, suck at things, practice things. And this the two generations coming, or three coming after us, they're not getting any process. They're going from zero to performance. People are expecting them to be like, just put it on and do it. And so I give process. My job is to teach process and process that you can do at home by yourself to create original characters so that you're not going. Here's the thing, we've seen so much content now that every time we see a description of anything, our mind immediately goes to that trope, brings that trope forward, and then we are regurgitating a trope that already exists, as opposed to working with these techniques that force you into your creative, intuitive place, almost that kind of like 6-year-old make believe that you used to do as a child.
Play,
Yes,
play.
honey, play. And really committing, because here's the thing, I find that children commit 100% to their characters more so than adults do. So I feel like I'm really connecting actors, especially actors who've been working for a while, back with that childhood make-believe self so that they can create original characters, and really play with it. And that's what my job is to reconnect with that passion, and then also test out what does it feel like to let the character drive the car and not let your mind in at all. I experiment with that a lot with clients. And it's very scary stuff because nobody wants to do it
Oh,
because everybody wants to do what their mind wants them to do.
or the thought of, well, let's see, I want to book this job. I need this job. I need to make this money.
No.
What are they asking for?
Yeah.
Let me give them that.
And
And
here's my suggestion for that. I suggest unlock the copy with your original character having never read it. So it's a cold read with your original character, whether or not it's appropriate, whether you've got a Batman sides and you're reading as SpongeBob SquarePants. I know that's inappropriate, but you're going to unlock the copy and you're going to have an interpretation to the copy that is not like anything your mind would have chosen because you wouldn't have known. And then after that, if you want to go back and really give them what they want based on what your mind says, you can. But here's the thing, I've been experimenting with this for 5 years now. And if you unlock the copy with something that's original and intuitive, your mind will never be able to go back to the little box afterwards. So it will make different choices than it would have made had you read the copy first. But if your mind reads the copy first, it's going to go to every trope and bring out everything it thinks they want, and you're never going to break outside of that box and be original. So there's something to be said about unlocking the copy with a character that's going to break the copy wide open and be totally inappropriate, so that when your mind does go to interpret the copy and read you're free of limitations because you've already broken them wide open. It's almost like a yolk that's
yeah,
just spread
you know,
out.
it reminds me early in my career, and this was mostly for commercials. They said if you're not quite getting what the copy is, let one of your cartoon voices do it. Because they will find the beats in it that you're not finding. And then you
Exactly.
can come back to your voice to do the copy.
Exactly.
And I always found that helped. But
Exactly.
listen, we've got some people already making some comments here and asking some questions. And
Yeah, there's a good
why is
question
that
there, I
so
see.
small? Let
Yeah.
me make that bigger. Nevin Stoltz, this is a great way to think of it. Just because a voice doesn't work for this project doesn't mean it's not perfect for another. And I
I never
totally,
throw my characters away, Nevin. My characters are my characters and they should not be discarded. They are sacred and they live off stage in my imagination. Just
yes.
because they're not right for one project doesn't mean they don't deserve to exist.
And
So actors
sometimes
who
you can,
create something and throw it away, then you feel like you're diminished somehow. You're giving away your energy and you feel less than at the end of the audition. Whereas I'm like, sorry, Phyllis, you didn't book this time, but I know Phyllis is a badass and at some point she's going in a book. So I feel encouraged. She just didn't book that one. It's okay, Phyllis. You got the next one.
Terry Briscoe says your energy is awesome, Erin. Does that ever give you trouble when you're performing a character that is a low energy type?
My natural placement is cartoon, so very high animation energy, yes. I just recorded a video game on Monday and today where I imagine tone like a sound fader. So my natural placement is up here in cartoon. And so when I do video games, I bring it all the way down. The fader goes all the way down to the lower energy. I don't find it difficult, but I don't find it as much fun.
Ah, well,
But it is work. That's the work, right? The work is for me to tone it down. And where people who are natural in the video game, it's work for them to push it up. So everybody has their own natural placement, and then you make the adjustment energetically according to whatever the tone is.
and this is so true, and this is so helpful because a lot of times people don't understand quite what their natural energy level is. And that you're playing characters that may be at your energy level, but some are going to be below, some are going to be above, and
Exactly.
it's going to take a little work to get that energy level up for a character that's way more energetic than you are, and then sometimes you have to slow down.
And
Interesting.
for ADHD, slowing down is painful. But it can
are you
be,
are
it
you
can
are
happen
you confessing to
very.
ADHD?
I'm ADHD, fully, completely. I confess to all of it. So it can be a challenge, but it is possible. And that's what I practice. I practice slowing down. I practice getting quiet, for sure.
All right, I got Jeff Burns here. Erin's one of the most instinctual people I've ever met in this industry.
Oh,
She's just brilliant and always delivers.
thanks,
And you
Jeff.
know that is your reputation. That
I have
is
a
your reputation.
reputation.
Whenever I have mentioned you in a conversation, that's what I get. Storm Waters, 3 generations coming after us. Lord, that just made me feel like I need to take a nap.
Me too, Storm. Let's take a nap.
Yeah, well, you don't have all this
You know,
gray hair there, Storm. So, so, excuse me. So, which do you enjoy more, anime, animation, or video games?
anime is really hard and it pays terribly. I don't see the benefit of anime other than the final product. So I don't enjoy anime because it's really really hard because you have to go to the mouth flaps of an original language, and so you are locked into a tune which generally isn't natural. And I mean there are some companies that the localization is so good and it's flawless that it feels Western, but there's some that they like the original rhythm, and I have my own rhythm. I'm sorry. I started in original animation, so it kind of set the template for me.
Yeah.
Um, I dig original animation, but I love being villains in video games. Like if I can be a badass warrior villain screaming. I mean, I'm loud. I can scream. I'm monster. I got monster in me. I like all of that. So it depends on the day. Today was a very philosophical, introspective, very mature, kind of quiet character, which was really beautiful and I adored every second of it. It just dripped drama and I got to reach deep inside myself, which was so fun. It was just so fun in such a different way than I normally do. I don't really have a preference because I mean, who doesn't love working, right? I mean,
It's
working
our
is
happy place.
great. It is. I prefer acting with other actors. I'm not going to lie. So cartoons, because I get other actors in the room, that's my joy is listening to someone else's performance and I think that's why I ended up starting to coach, because I miss being with actors and watching them give birth and shine and have their talent ooze. I get so inspired watching other actors, and I
And
feel like that
lately,
satisfied it.
even before the pandemic, we were
Yeah.
moving away from having
Yep.
ensemble performances, even in cartoons. You'd find
Yes.
you show up at the studio and oh, well, where is everybody? Oh, it's just you today. We
Yeah.
we can't get everybody together. Everybody's And it's like,
Exactly.
and I remember back in the day,
You can't do
room
I
full of
did a cartoon
actors.
last week. The cartoon I did last week, everyone was separate, and I thought, "What a missed opportunity." Because even if you edit our performances together, we're not reacting off of each other, and I don't know about you, but as actors, I can tell when the actors were not in the room together. I hear it. I hear it in the editing. I hear when an actor didn't get the opportunity to play off of the other actors, beautiful gift that they were giving out, and that breaks my heart a little bit. I really prefer everybody working in the same room at the same time. It just makes such a difference in the art, but I get it. They save money. I hear them.
Well, that brings me to when I'm teaching, one of the things I try to get across is that when we've got just a microphone, you can't go when it's right there. When you've got just a microphone and words on the page or screen, we
Mm.
have to replace those things that the actor on stage or on camera has. We've got to do it up here where they're in costume, they've memorized their lines, they've got blocking,
They're
they're
given
talking to.
everything. They're literally taken to locations. They're given other actors. They have
They
costumes.
have to create it in
They're
our heads.
spoiled. They're
Yeah,
so spoiled.
they're so spoiled. Oh
They
boy.
are. They don't have to pretend they're in a giant open field with orcs and not in the closet in my bedroom.
And
Right?
no similarities there.
Right.
Let's see. I
Right.
got another
I love
question.
that you spoke on that though, Dave. Like, that's a really big deal. Like, I feel like that's a missing piece that people forget about, that that actors who get to work in those other genres, they get so much more opportunity because 'cause they're given so much more.
Well, it when you think about it, what is asked for now, especially in video games, because animation video games, they live in two different worlds.
Yeah.
But in video games, they're looking for cinematic performances.
Yes.
And which is more pulled back, more grounded. Even when you're
Yeah.
playing some creature from another world at another time,
True.
still
Yep.
there's a certain groundedness that they're looking for.
Mhm.
So you can't be as animated as
Mhm.
cartoons,
Exactly.
and you have to find the heart of that character and the subtlety. And if all you are looking at is the words, you don't get it. You have to take those words. Well,
Flat.
what's the
Flat.
story these words tell? Who am I?
Well,
Where am I? Who am I talking to? All that.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly it, Dave. It's ag a and actually, it's interesting because I have clients that I have sent to you, and then after they've gone to you and they come back to me, I can feel the absolute shift. Something shifts for them after they've worked with you, and I'm like, "Oh, you caught it now. You caught it. You
Oh, you
got it. You
you
got."
have no
Yeah.
idea how happy you've made me with that comment. That
Oh,
that
no, it's true.
that gives me so much joy when somebody and it's one thing for the bell to ring on, oh,
Yeah.
I understand, but it's another thing, you have to work at it. You have to get over that idea. Well, if I say it like this, I'm playing the character. If I just make these words precious, I'm playing the character. And it's like, no, no. Uh,
Yeah, the Fennoy bump, that's exactly what it is. Because it's about again, it's a process that we've gotten through practice. We've had that process, and we've built up in our creative imagination that we do it automatically,
yes.
and I feel like it's so important now with the younger generations to teach them that process because 'cause they're not being taught that process,
Yeah.
you know? The I Becoming the character is step 1, but like you said, if you don't know where you are and who you're talking to, how are you gonna know what you want? Because talking to my mom is different than talking to my enemy, is different than talking to my lover, is different than talking to my boss, and each person makes me feel some kind of way.
Yeah.
Because being angry at my mother feels different than being angry at the guy in Vancouver who told me I would never work because I was cheap. Like, those are 2 different forms of anger.
Oh boy. Oh boy. And I'd rather have the anger at mom and than the other
Yeah,
anger.
because
Uh,
there's love behind the anger at
yeah.
mom.
Paul Admonson, do you schedule regular practice where you work on and find your characters, or do they just pop out in the moment when you approach your copy? How do you catalog your characters? Great question.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes and yes. All of that. I practice regularly. I have a space downstairs that is my walking around creating character space that I do. I use the exercises that I teach in my private coaching. Um all of my characters live off stage and they kind of all gather there.
What
But
are
I
their
do I
favorite
have
foods? I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Depends on
I'm
the
kidding.
character. But I have uh, uh, a spreadsheet document that lists my characters, and I work with the Alexander technique. So every character I have has a dominant body part, and the dominant body part is my anchor for each character, so that when I'm getting called, like I get called on the job for a lot of my work isn't through auditions, it's through just getting booked. So what happens is I treat my auditions as not necessarily auditioning for the character, but auditioning for the casting director in the project. And my job is to showcase the characters I've created, and the casting director will probably put them in some sort of, oh, that'd be good for this kind of place. And eventually they get around and say, hey, let's book Erin. She did this one character, boop, boop, boop. So I get these bookings. I show up. For video games, mostly it's utility, right? For me, because I'm a character actor. I don't play one. I play, I can play. I've played up to 25 characters in a gaming video game session. Like that is a normal thing that has happened to me in the past. So to be able to do now, I don't get to prep those characters before I show
No,
up.
you don't.
I show up and they tell
you
me who my
actually don't
characters
get to
are
prep the character, the main character
at
you're
all.
playing.
No, because I'm sorry, but like read Police Officer 2 is not a character. That's not a character. Any of my characters could play Police Officer 2. Phyllis, but she hasn't been. But anyway, you know what I mean? So
I know
like the
exactly what
idea
you mean.
is, when I get behind the microphone, like, okay, I was called into a video game last year and they asked me, I knew I had hit my, a new moment in my career, because every time you age a decade, it unlocks a whole other box of characters. So I went into this video game and they asked me to play like 7 to 10 70-year-old characters. And I was like, I did not have any of them prepared because I didn't realize I had unlocked that box. Now I had 2 or 3, but 10. So I used my own technique, which is based on the Alexander technique. And I just kept changing the dominant body part and creating a brand new character on the spot. Now, because I do those exercises and I regularly practice in my living room all the time, when I do it, I take my time when I'm in my house. I don't rush it. I have process. I put on the body of the character first. I get into the skin of the character. I call it the meat suit. And then once I feel like I am the character, then I introduce the character to someone, and the sound of the character for me is connected to a dominant body part. The body part changes my
this whole
face,
dominant body
all of that.
part thing could just turn into a dirty joke, but
It can. It
so
can.
so
It
what
can.
what are
So,
some of the
yeah.
dominant body parts some of your characters have?
Well, there is not a piece of me that has not ended up as a character, including my organs, my circulatory system, my nervous system. But the very first character I booked on Ed, Edd and Eddy for Cartoon Network, she was teeth and butt. Every time she sticks my butt, I have to have her butt out in order to perform her, because that's just her placement. We're like, boys. So if I don't do the butt, then I can't be her. I can't find her vocal placement. Her vocals are connected to the butt. It just is what it is. That's how she was born. So that's just a thing. So yeah, all of those things I'm sorry, Paul, that's everything. So I can do it really quickly on the job now, but that's only after thousands of hours of practice of doing it slowly and giving myself process.
It's the old 10,000 hours. You have to do it. And I know people, I've mentioned 10,000 hours in practice, and they, well, is it going to take me a long time to get 10,000 hours? Don't count them. Just do
No,
them.
just play in them.
Just do
play
them.
in
Just
them.
do them. Yeah.
You won't notice it. Just like when you go out to play when you were a kid and your mom says, come back before night. And then you didn't know how long, you didn't feel like it was 8 hours. And then all of a sudden, the sun's going down.
While the
I better get home
street
for
lights
dinner.
are on, I got to go home.
You didn't know you put in 10 hours of play.
I got
You don't log those hours.
Got here from Nevin Stoltz. It's weird, though, because now more than ever, ensemble recording is possible from everyone's home studios. You don't need to get everyone in a studio, except getting everybody's home studio together show up in one place actually is very difficult. I've done a few sessions like that, and an inordinate amount of time was spent trying to make it happen, because everybody's studio is a little different. The sound of each studio is a little different. So it does become tough. Let's see.
Yeah.
Sandra Nicole. Erin,
Hi,
I
Ellen.
love hearing you gush about the art of the craft. So much joy.
I love this craft.
Oh,
I'd do it even if they didn't pay me. That's how I know I love it.
don't tell them that. But really, that is the truth of the matter.
Yeah,
We're doing something that if money weren't a thing, we'd be doing it anyway.
exactly.
All right, let's see. Oh, let's see. We've got a comment here. Yes, meat suit, says Nigel P. Henderson.
Well, because half the time your character's not a human. It could be a
Yeah,
human, an alien, a monster. Literally, if you look at Amazing World of Gumball, there's literally a scribble that's a character. It could be an ice cream cone. You don't know what the meat suit of your character is going to be. Look at Adventure Time. You could be a candy, a cloud, anything. Like for Hearthstone, I've been a plate, a fork, a knife. Like you just anthropomorphic things are characters.
yeah.
So
Let's see. Storm Waters. Dave's always telling us our body informs our voice. So it's just true. It's just true.
well,
And
I can. Sorry. Go
no,
ahead, Dave.
I was. You go.
Well, for me, the body is whatever body part you pick. There's like marionette strings to your face. Your face is your mask. And anybody who sings or does any sort of choir work, you know that you need to have your muscles have to be forward. Your embouchure has to be strong in order to bring the sound forward into the front of the mask, so it's not sitting in the vocal cords, so that you don't lose your voice. Well, for me, it's the same. If a body part is connected to the face, and if I put my shoulder forward and I decide that this is the placement. Okay, so right away I put my shoulder, this is going to be the body part, and then all the muscles went to the shoulder. So the face just moves and creates the sound. It's not the vocal cords. The muscles in the face just move. So I have to hold this for 4 hours, but it's fine. So I can immediately, the attitude comes in and I'm feeling all kinds of ways. Like the the face can be in 1,000 different positions, and the face will change your sound more than your vocal cords will. Period. So
You're preaching to the choir.
I know
Yay!
you know. I know you know.
No,
But this is why I'm
no,
excited
but
for
here's
Mexico.
Erin.
Yeah,
This is what I love is so many of us are saying the same thing.
that part.
And sometimes I tell people, look, you should take classes with a lot of different people, because sometimes you may hear
Agreed.
me but not understand me. You may hear somebody else but not understand them. But sooner or later,
Yeah.
the same message, however it's said, is
The
going to
penny
click.
drops.
It's going to click. Hey,
It's true.
speaking of great talent, Ellen Dubbin. I
Hi,
love this,
Ellen.
Erin. Your physicality
Bonjour.
informs your voice. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Grace Newton, a regular. Let's rock it over there. Erin, thank you for being vulnerable and acknowledging there are naysayers. They can go kick rocks. I on that naysayer thing, some of my biggest motivators have been people who told me I can't. So I bless the naysayers for giving me sometimes the push that I needed. I'm sure you've had some people, as you mentioned,
Yeah.
that
Well, I don't mind them, because here's what I've learned. Whatever something like that guy in Vancouver, what he said, it wasn't what he said that mattered. It was the fact that somewhere I believed it. Otherwise, what he said wouldn't have landed
yes,
inside of me. So the naysayers are important, because what they do is they call out what you're already telling yourself. And if something a naysayer says resonates with you, then you need to check your own belief system about yourself and delete that belief. Because if you don't like what they said, then you need to stop saying it to yourself, because chances are your mind has said it to yourself. Because anything that someone says that I don't believe just bounces right off me, where I'm like, I don't care. You can say whatever you want. Okay, you're having a bad day. But the stuff that lands is the stuff that I'm like, I thought that too. You know what I mean? Like, so I feel like naysayers have a role, but you can use it to weed out the negative thoughts that you have towards yourself, which you shouldn't have, because you're amazing and creative and there's no one like you.
dig it. Um, uh, and Paul Adamson again. In improv, leading with a body part changes everything to my performance. I don't know how I haven't considered doing the same in the booth.
Oh,
I know why you haven't
really?
considered doing the same in the booth, because you're in a booth and there's words on a page and a microphone, and you think it's about reading the words in a certain way.
And it
And
isn't.
that's not what it's about.
So if you're creating your characters outside of the booth, and then when you're behind the mic, you're just pulling your characters forward. Like obviously I make adjustments for some characters based on the limitation of a booth, but I can, once I give myself the room outside the booth to really put on the full character, I memorize that feeling. I memorize the body placement. I memorize the feeling so that when I'm in my tiny little booth, I don't have to like my full warrior woman cannot fit in my booth. Like the way she walks outside of my booth is totally different, but I have a different placement inside of my booth, but the body part remains the same so that I can stay within these walls but still give the performance of the character because I memorized the feeling of who she
Yeah,
is.
truncated motion,
That part.
but still
Yeah.
the motion. Speaking
But in the
of booth,
in a
I
studio
always
like
want to
this.
ask people what's your
My
booth, what's your equipment, mic, and all
Okay,
that
yeah.
stuff.
I realized that I didn't plug in my computer and it's low battery. So I don't know if this might disappear. I'm using a TLM 102 Neumann mic, a SSL2 preamp, a MacBook Pro, and I record on Adobe Audition.
Oh, okay. And what's your booth? I see.
It's my closet. It's my closet.
Uh,
It's a closet. It's a closet that's got like soundproofing on it. It's just a closet. It's
and
just a closet.
you know, I love that. I mean, I've got a whisper room over here, but I love that because people are, oh, gee, what am I going to get? And
No, no,
I
no.
always,
And
I
I
always,
had like engineers have gone over this during the pandemic and they were like, nope, you're good.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
closet
Closet with
booth.
clothes in it is one of the best places in the world
I
to
had a
record.
different closet with the walk in with clothes, and that was even better than this one.
Yeah, yeah. It's because
I
those
didn't have to
clothes
have
will
buy
suck
any.
up that sound.
I know, right?
Um,
I can't believe I didn't plug in my computer. I'm sorry that my battery is dying. I'm apologizing.
do you want to grab a cord and plug it in?
Yeah, it's going to take me a second. Talk to
Okay,
everybody while
that's
I do
okay.
that.
While she's gone, I'm just going to pull this up and we'll talk about Game VO Mexico 2023, April 27th through April 30th in Acamal, Mexico. And I went down to scout the area, and it is just fantastically beautiful. It will be a campus-like atmosphere. There are 4 resorts that we'll be using. Everyone will have their own private cabana. You'll be walking or sitting around someplace, and there'll be a lizard over there, an iguana. There are monkeys in the trees. Toucans are around. And it's me. It's Randall Ryan. It's Erin Fitzgerald. It's Mark Esdale, Gillian Brashear. And these are some of the best people I know in the business of voiceover for video games. And it's going to be 3 solid days of work. We're going to start with technique and acting principles and move forward and move forward and move forward to simulated video game sessions. And it's going to be fantastic. And Erin
I'm
is,
so excited for it.
oh, it's going to be
I'm
great.
so excited because I feel like we are going to build on top of each other. Like, I feel like I'm going to connect to, your child within and the craft outside of the business where it's just pure creation. And then you get to work with each professional, dripping in more of the cross of the art with the business and how you can manage it all. Like, it's such a great progression of coaches. I'm kind of like, I want to be in every class. I want to, I want
You
to
know,
be in it.
you have no idea. When I go to conventions and whatnot, the worst thing is, oh, I'm teaching and I can't go sit in on this person's thing. Ah.
That part. But maybe we can. Like, I want to, like, I
Oh,
just feel like
we're
I
gonna
want to see. Yeah.
you're gonna have some opportunity
I
to
feel
do
it's
that.
going to be so exciting. I love the idea of just giving ourselves permission as artists to be away from the industry, to focus on the artistry, and then gently lead it back to the industry.
There you go.
Oh,
Theodore Mezzacapo, question for Aaron. Which genre offers more opportunity to play multiple characters, animation or video games?
they're the same. I've played 25 characters in a video game, and for the show Storybots that I'm on, I've probably played 200 to 300 characters over the years now. So they're, I mean, cartoons have the opportunity to keep going, but video games, like a video game on Monday, I only did one character. Video game the month before, it was 10 character. Like it doesn't. It's just characters. It's characters.
Yeah.
Again, I'm a utility player for video games, so they tend to use me based on what I am capable of doing.
Which is a lot.
Thank you, sir.
Got a question here from Terry Briscoe. So I'm hearing that casting directors aren't looking for characters as much as before and just want you when you audition. Is that accurate or industry speak?
Depends on the character. Now, if you're auditioning for a lead character for a video game, yeah, give them you, because chances are your authentic placement is going to be the most grounded film performance that they're going to hear. You know what I mean? So that makes sense. So you can give them a you version of a character and then also give a second take where you're giving them, look at what else I have to offer. You know what I'm saying? So you can do both. It depends on the audition. It depends. Like Hearthstone is never my natural placement. I have done 1,000 cartoony characters for Hearthstone. So, but when I'm in World of Warcraft, it's as film, and Diablo, very film, very fantasy film, very fantasy film. But when you get to like Fallout, that's, and The Last of Us, that's very Walking Dead levels of television and film, very whisper acting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So again, that's energy. That could be, it really depends. It depends on the world you're living in, and it depends on the game and the casting director's needs.
Yeah. Sometimes the questions that are asked, they come from a place of thinking there is a formula.
There isn't.
And there's not. The formula is good acting.
Boop, boop.
The formula is connecting to whatever that character is that you've created, they've asked for, and bringing that to life.
Show off your characters in your natural placement. You can have different characters in your natural placement. That's what on-camera celebrities do. Julia Roberts has all these different characters, but she doesn't change anything about herself. It's still her meat suit and her face and her voice, but the characters are totally different, because of their background and where they come from and where she is and who she's talking to. So really, you're just introducing your character. So you can have 100 characters in your natural placement, just give them totally different backstories and name them something else. For me, natural placement is attached to my natural dominant body part. And for me, it's the girls are my natural dominant body part. That's just my natural placement. So I have a lot of characters that are placed in the girls.
Okay. And I love that comment. Julia Roberts meat suit. Okay.
Right.
Just let that sit there for a minute.
You're welcome.
All right. Sarah Tyndall, how you doing, Sarah? Hi, Erin. Glad to see you on here. Hey, Dave, wish I could come to Mexico. Well, you should just come because we're going to be there.
Yeah.
And it's going to be fun, and you're going to learn a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you were just starting out in the VO biz, what would be the first thing you'd do? What would you tell somebody? What would you tell yourself?
Well, that is not the VO biz, because I hate that nomenclature. I feel like that is misleading, and everyone focuses here. When you think voiceover, people end up focusing here, like this is some sort of magical acting thing. I tell people who are new, learn to act, learn the different styles of acting. For me, Alexander technique works the best, but maybe Meisner is your technique. Maybe there's 1,000 different acting techniques that one should be familiar with, because you don't know what, like, for example, I like Alexander.
Give me an example of Alexander technique.
So I like Alexander because it's a dominant body part. I put the character's meat suit on first, and then the character just shows up for me. That's like Alexander's putting the character on first from the outside, and then it shows up on the inside, whereas Meisner is creating the character from the inside and letting it develop to the outside, right? And Meisner's also, Stanislavski is using your own memories, using your own life experiences. So, for example, if I've had an amazing day and I'm just in my happy joy place, and I show up to a job and they need me to be really, really sad, there are some days where I'm not connected to my sadness because I am just in such a great place. So I still have to do my job. So then I will use some Meisner or Stanislavski techniques to quickly get me into the placement emotionally that I need to be in order to play those emotional notes. And I'll borrow from Stanislavski and Meisner to get me there if I need to. Or reverse, if I'm in a very sad place and I have to play a very upbeat character, I have to I'll usually lean on the Alexander technique for that, because I find that energizing my body will immediately get me out of an emotional placement that's in a lower, darker place. That's a faster out for me. So it really just depends. It depends on any given moment.
Quick question. Have you ever been in such a state you couldn't get out of it to play a particular character?
No, I have too many tools in my toolbox. I have so many tools in my toolbox now. Usually what I will ask, and I ask directors for help when I need assistance. Like if there's something I can't do on my own, I always ask the director, can you paint me a picture? Can you paint me a picture? It doesn't have to even be related to the IP. And a great director will know to paint me a picture regardless. They'll see if I'm not catching it. If I'm just not finding what they want, a great director will give me, like, what there was one game me and the director was very head and I'm a very heart person, and they kept communicating with me from this head place, and I thought I was understanding what they were saying, but every time I would do the take, they were like, no, that's not it, and then give me the same direction, and I'm like, and I'm a heart person, so I'm like, I thought I gave you what you asked for. So I literally had to say, can you word it differently and paint a different scenario that gets to the same feeling for me? And so they had to think outside of their box, and they did. They gave me a completely not related to the IP directly. Like, imagine if you were, and then gave me a scenario, painted a beautiful scenario where I was like, oh, that's the emotional placement you're talking about. Because it was such a specific set of emotional notes that I didn't connect to from his mental description of them. And I needed something that my heart could connect to. So him painting a picture helps me. And I know that that's how I am directed best. So I'm not afraid to ask for that when I need it, because then I can get exactly what it is they want.
You know,
If that
that's
makes
interesting because directors have to learn how to speak to us, and we have to learn how to understand directors. And you're going to find when you're working that every director works just a little bit differently. Donabelle Bastaro Boone, if you could do your career all over again, what is the one thing that you would do differently or wish you would have learned sooner?
I wish I loved myself more at the beginning. I wish I stood in the knowledge of what I was capable of. I really let other people, and the jealousy and the yeah, but that's my spiritual journey. I mean, I think I chose this as a profession because I needed to learn self-confidence. I changed
Did
countries because
did
I
you
needed to stand in my truth.
did you really choose it or did it choose you?
Yeah, I came in doing, I mean, 3 years old, and I was performing for that 90-year-old lady next door.
You
The
never had a
entire
chance, kid. You
Yeah,
you
I
were
never had.
forced into
So you would
this.
think I would have been more confident about
Quit
it,
now
but
and
it
go
was
to medical school.
interesting.
You can be a
Yeah.
doctor.
I
Kidding.
wish I could have told myself, don't listen to anyone outside yourself. Just listen to your heart. That's it. That's it. I mean, I'm there now, and that's what I share when I'm coaching, is trust your intuition more than your mind. Period.
Mm, interesting, interesting. Let's see. Richelieu Hoff Jr., head person versus heart person. I totally get that. I love it when you say something and it just comes across. Lonnie Manella. Uh,
Hey, good scripts. Isn't that the truth? I had a great script today. Like I had both the writers on, and it was just like teamwork makes the dream work, right?
yeah,
When you get to have everybody involved and people are writing from the heart, and the emotional notes are just so there for the taking because your character is just feeling it. You're just riding it like you're surfing a wave. Yeah, I love
there's
that. Good
nothing like good
point.
writing.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I, I
Great
I
writing.
think of the number of movies I've watched with some of my favorite actors who are working as hard as they can to bring this bullshit writing to life.
Truth. Well, I'm sure you've worked plenty of games where you had to make magic
Oh
happen that you're
yeah,
just like, "Oh, this is really hard.
yeah. Who wrote this?
Heavy lifting. My character's doing a lot of work here."
Work that he shouldn't have to do. Um,
No.
do you ever rewrite in session?
Well, I don't rewrite, but my character won't say anything that doesn't feel natural to my character. So if my
Oh yeah,
character
great. Blame
will
it on your
reword
character.
Yeah. My character will rework a sentence and I won't know that it will happen until the director says, "Can you read it as written?" And I'll be like, "Oh, I apologize. I didn't know that I
You know what
didn't read it as written."
that
And I
happens
have
to
to
me
make
all the
an
time.
adjustment.
That happens
But a
to me all
lot
the
of the time they'll let me go with it.
That's fine.
They're like, "I believed that more." Because sometimes writers don't know that that a line isn't really speakable. It reads beautifully, but it doesn't work as talking.
Yes.
So my characters intuitively, each character has their own way of talking. And once I'm locked into that character is going to talk how they talk,
Yeah.
regardless of what's on the page. Now, I can always make my character say exactly what's on the page if that's what they require. I absolutely can do that. But I will always let my character have their own version of it first. And then I'll be
I
like, now I
I
can do it
I
exactly as you wrote it.
I find that very often they go with the thing that naturally came out of your mouth if it hasn't
I
changed the
agree.
meaning. It's
Exactly.
just
I agree.
worded more clearly. Hey, listen. That's the hour. It went by so fast. And Erin,
Thank you.
you are just fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
I know
I'm
the kind.
excited for Mexico.
I'm telling you, I know the kind of comments I'm going to get on this. Oh man, Erin Fitzgerald, she was just amazing. Oh, I learned so much. Wow, I never thought of it that way. And of course, that'll be the same kinds of things that those who are going to join us in Mexico will get. Game VO Mexico 2023. Oh, well, wait a minute. I think I'll pull that one up again. Oh, there we go. And GameVOMexico.com if you are
Come
interested.
join us. Come play.
Yeah, come play with us. It's going to be a lot of fun in a beautiful place outside of what we normally get in a regular studio. Beautiful weather, beautiful beach.
Other
I
actors to be inspired from.
Other actors to be inspired from. It's going to be a gas. Um, and with that, Erin, whoa, well, that's not what I meant to do. That's what I meant to do. I'm going to let you go because I'm going to go upstairs and have some dinner. And thank you so much. You are just amazing. And I can't wait till the end of April.
Woo! Bye, everyone. Thank you so much.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Erin Fitzgerald, just amazing. You never know what you're going to get when you bring someone on. I mean, I knew I was going to get something good. I didn't know I was going to get something this good. Once again, thumbs up. All right. All these Ask Dave Fennoy Anything live on my YouTube channel. Dave Fennoy voiceover training, and I know you're going to want to come back to this one and hear some of the wonderful things that Erin had to say. And if you're interested in VO lessons from me, DaveFennoy.com. Erin, I'm going to pull you back for 1 second here. How can people get in touch with you if they want to work with you privately?
I have a website, erinfitzbadass.com, and there's the coaching stuff is on there, but I am reworking my website. So I guess on Twitter you can see the link to on Twitter you can see the link to my coaching if you tweet at all at Erin Fitzgerald on Twitter. But my website, erinfitzbadass.com.
Erin Fitzbadass. Okay, I didn't want to leave that. Anyway, well, that does it for us. Love you guys. Thanks for joining in again. And in the meantime and in between time, book something.